Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're going to explore the work of a philosopher who's, well, less concerned with grand political structures and a lot more interested in what's happening right inside your own head.
We're diving into the ideas of Maulana Wahiduddin Khan, a thinker people have called a dissector of the human soul.
And our source for this is primarily an analysis by Dr. Muhammad El-Hafawi, who really digs into Khan's book, Thoughts and Reflections.
That's right, and it's a remarkable body of work because it's so integrated. It's not just random thoughts.
Exactly. So our mission here isn't just to, read a few quotes. We want to take these deep ideas and actually string them together to build a kind of a practical roadmap for daily life.
A complete journey.
Right. A journey that starts with how you deal with yourself, then moves to managing your time and energy, and finally, how that all translates into real influence in the world.
And that journey, it's fascinating. It really begins at what you could call the 0 point, the moment we stop looking out there and start looking in here.
And that 0 point, I think, is probably the most difficult part of his whole philosophy.
It can be.
Because it's a diagnosis of how we misplace our energy.
Yeah.
He says something that just holds up this incredibly painful mirror. He says, Muslims today are the champions of concern and thinking about others, and no one wants to think about themselves.
Wow. And that statement immediately sets up this stark contrast he draws, the only two paths you can really take.
Which are?
Well, on one hand, you have self-accountability. In Arabic, that's muhasabat al-dat. He says if you choose that path, you fix both this world and the hereafter.
Okay.
But if you choose the other path, criticizing others, muhasabat al-hayr, you just end up wasting both.
And it's so much easier to criticize, isn't it? The government, the culture, the economy, anything but my own habits. So what's the psychology there? What's stopping us from looking inward?
Oh, this is ancient psychology, but he just nails it. Blaming other people, external factors.
Right.
It's our oldest defense mechanism.
To protect the ego.
Precisely. To protect what he calls the fragile ego, or al-ana al-hash. I mean, think about it. Admitting that I might be the problem, that I'm lazy, or I'm responsible for my own failures. That's painful.
It hurts.
It does. The outside world, though, it's a fantastic scapegoat, very convenient.
So it's basically a survival mechanism to maintain this positive but totally false sense of who we are.
You've got it. We avoid that painful self-confrontation. But then Khan does something brilliant. He zooms out. He asks, okay, what happens when an entire community, a whole society, adopts this as its main way of operating?
And that's where it gets really scary.
The result is it's total paralysis, stagnation. He uses this incredible image. He says it becomes a society of critics without players.
A society of critics without players.
Yeah, picture this giant arena. It's completely packed with analysts, commentators, accusers. Everyone is just analyzing the game.
There's no game happening.
Not a single player on the field. That's his line. Everyone is focused on blame and commentary, and absolutely no one is focused on building anything, on creating.
That is just a stunningly accurate description of so much of our online world, isn't it? We've replaced the hard work of creating with the cheap satisfaction of critique.
And this whole destructive cycle, this obsession with blame, it has a very real, measurable cost. It starts eating away at our most precious resource.
Time.
Our time, our energy, our focus.
And that's the perfect bridge to his next idea, right? Because the moment you stop wasting all that mental energy blaming the world,
you suddenly realize how much you had.
You suddenly have all this time and attention back in your own hands.
And he has such a powerful way of describing this. He says, you must not waste any glimmer of the time available to you, for you are the owner of months and years if you collect the moments.
Like the moments. I love that. It's so much more active than just managing time.
Yeah.
So what's the real danger here? It's not just about, having a bad calendar.
No, it's way deeper than that. Khan says the real danger is a kind of profound self-deception. He calls it a fraud against ourselves.
A fraud against ourselves?
Mm-hmm.
How so?
We convince ourselves that we're living a full life just because, we're breathing, we're physically present. But our real life is just slipping away because we're consciously absent. You're sitting in a meeting, but in your head, you're already writing your next email.
Oh, that just calls me out completely. I do that all the time. I try to multitask, and I just end up doing two things badly and not really experiencing either one.
And that's the exact point. Khan isn't saying you need to be a workaholic and work 24/7. Not at all.
It's about presence.
It's about total conscious presence. It's the philosophy behind what we now call mindfulness, or al-yaqada al-dinya, whatever you choose to do. Even if it's resting, you have to be 100% there.
So if I decide to take a 10-minute break, it should be a real break, no phone. If I'm reading, my whole mind is in the book. If I'm just drinking a coffee, I should actually taste the coffee.
Exactly, because life is just the sum of all these little consciously collected moments. And when we let them just drift by, when we fool ourselves about how we're spending our time, we're not just wasting minutes. In his words, we're squandering parts of our existence itself.
Okay, so let's follow the roadmap. We've stopped blaming everyone else. We've started collecting our moments by being present. Now we have all this reclaimed energy and attention. What's the next step? How do we invest it?
That brings us to the engine of growth.
Mhm.
It's about waking up all the potential that's just sitting dormant inside of us. Kahn makes this incredible promise. He says, there are infinite competencies deposited in every human being, but these competencies are dormant and only awakened by confronting challenges and risks.
That's a very hopeful idea, but I mean, the word risks can be pretty scary for people. When he says we need to confront challenges, what does he mean? Is he telling us all to go quit our jobs?
No, no, and that's a really crucial distinction to make. He's not talking about being reckless. He's just pointing out a fundamental truth about how we grow. We are all, biologically wired to love our comfort zone, the space where everything is easy and familiar. But all that potential he's talking about, it's buried just outside that zone.
So growth only happens with intentional pressure.
It has to. The source material uses the bodybuilder analogy, which is perfect.
Right.
A muscle will only grow if you force it to lift a weight that's heavier than what it's used to. That little bit of discomfort, that temporary pressure, that's what triggers growth.
Yeah.
Our minds, our psyches, they work in exactly the same way.
That makes perfect sense. If you only ever do what's easy, you never get stronger. But how do you know what a good challenge is? I mean, what's the difference between a calculated risk that helps you grow and just burning out?
That is the critical question. A calculated challenge is targeted. It's small scale. It's focused on learning something, not on some huge all or nothing outcome. The weights you're lifting aren't necessarily, risking financial ruin.
So what are they?
Well, the challenge might be learning a new, difficult skill for your job. That wakes up new mental pathways. Or it could be having that difficult conversation you've been avoiding. That wakes up courage and emotional intelligence.
So it's really about adopting a growth mindset, seeing a difficulty not as a threat to run from, but as fuel.
Exactly. The challenge is the fuel that runs the internal machine. And when that machine is running, when those dormant parts of you are finally awake, you naturally start to produce something of value. And that leads directly to his ideas about respect.
And this is where that internal revolution finally meets the outside world. He says that respect isn't something you can demand, it's something you earn through value. What's the quote?
If a person proves their usefulness, they will be respected in the eyes of everyone, even in the eyes of their enemy. Being useful and beneficial makes even the beasts honor you.
It's a pretty radical way of thinking about power. But let's define usefulness, Felita. He doesn't just mean making money, right?
Not at all. It's not about material profit. The real nuance is added value.
Okay, so what does added value look like in the real world?
It could be anything. It could be scientific value, a new discovery. It could be artistic value music that just touches people's souls. It could be moral value, someone who gives incredible wisdom. Or honestly, it could just be the simple value of a friend whose presence makes your life better.
So the idea is to become a positive element in the equation of existence.
That's the core of it. And when you do that, he says respect is not a favor people grant you. It's an involuntary response. They can't help it.
Wait, so even your enemy has to respect you?
They might still hate your guts. They might disagree with everything you stand for, but they cannot deny the value you've created. They can't deny your impact. And so they're forced to respect your contribution.
Which brings it all back to the beginning. The person focused inward creates value and earns that respect. The person focused outward, blaming others,
Produces nothing and commands no real respect.
it's a beautifully complete system. Internal focus leads to presence, which fuels growth, which creates value, which commands respect. This whole thing seems to build towards his ultimate idea about power, the power of the idea itself.
Yes. And this is probably his most revolutionary insight, especially for us today. He completely separates the strength of an idea, a philosophy, a religion, from the material power of the people who follow it.
How does he define that strength then, if it's not military or economic might?
He says the request for divine religion is inherent in human nature, and this is the secret to its strength. He argues that big ideas conquer human hearts through their own power, their self-power, not because their followers have armies or money.
That is radical.
Yeah.
We're so used to measuring an idea's success by, how many followers it has or how much influence its nation has. Khan is saying none of that is the real source.
None of it. And this is the nugget we really have to grasp. He's drawing a massive distinction between the power of the argument and the argument of power.
Okay, break that down. The power of the argument versus the argument of power.
Right. Most political ideologies in history spread through the argument of power, military force, economic pressure, state authority. You accept the idea because you're forced to, and the moment that external force is gone,
The idea collapses.
it often does, because its strength was borrowed. But Kant says that truly profound ideas, like divine religion, they work differently. They operate on the power of the argument.
Meaning their strength is internal to the idea itself.
Exactly. Their power comes from their ability to answer the deepest, oldest human questions. Who am I? Why am I here? What does all of this mean? He believes our human nature, our fitra, is just thirsty for those answers.
So the idea spreads quietly from one person to another because it resonates with something already inside us. It doesn't need force.
It doesn't. Its power is its internal truth, not the external strength of its believers. It's the ultimate statement on self-contained power, whether you're talking about a person or a global philosophy.
So if we were to wrap this whole philosophy up, it's really a call to shift your entire locus of control.
From external to internal,
Okay.
completely.
Khan is basically inviting you to stop being just a reaction to what happens around you.
And instead, to be the action.
And the action plan is so clear. Step 1, take personal responsibility. Stop blaming the world.
Step 2, reclaim your time and attention through conscious presence. Collect your moments.
Step 3, use that focus to take on calculated challenges. Step just outside that comfort zone.
And finally, just let the natural result of all that work be the genuine value you produce. The respect will follow. You won't even have to ask for it.
It shows that any real, lasting change you want to see in the world has to begin with that quiet, difficult revolution inside yourself. It's a full journey from the inside out. So maybe a question to reflect on this week is, where does your locus of control really lie? And what's the one calculated challenge you need to face to wake up a part of yourself that's been dormant for too long?